Welcome back to Active Minds Podcast, where we have a little fun. We explore life and business through the lens of people who have paved their own lane. And then after that, we have a little more fun. We start to brainstorm with your questions as well as real life events to see how their lessons can be applied to our life and business. And most importantly, the whole purpose of this is to move smarter together. We are joined today by someone who has cornered a niche market that many are trying, but not everyone's succeeding. Mr. Airbnb is with us today. And of course, our co-host, Danny. I'm Catriel Sarfati. Today is going to be a fun episode because the whole premise of today, it's the title and the sentiment, really. It's not lack of money. It's lack of a creative idea. We're going to go into the art of bootstrapping. So if you like, the actual grind, not the hustle porn version of it, I think you're gonna have a good time today with Mr. Airbnb. Now, I know that we keep calling you Mr. Airbnb, but what is your government name?
My government-issued name. My name is Braden Ross.
That's a nice name.
People don't remember that, though. They'll either call me Brandon.
That's amazing.
That's why I said it. Just call me Brandon. No, so a lot of people don't know my name, but it is Braden Ross. And I coined the term Mr. Airbnb a couple years ago.
It's catchy.
Yeah, I got super lucky, actually. Somebody's like, "You're the Airbnb guy." Like, it should be like Mr. Airbnb. And we were like standing in line, and I checked on Instagram. It was like available. I'm like, how is this available? Boom, I got it. And people, obviously it helps for SEO purposes and people finding me for Airbnb.
How did you become Mr. Airbnb?
Yeah, well, let's rewind. I'll keep it short and as simple as possible for anybody watching. I want to try to add as much value. It's not as much about me, but providing your listeners value. So 5 years ago, it was 2017. I'm 27 now. I'm turning 28 next week. So I'm still a young buck, as some people would call me. But realistically, I wanted to get into real estate, as many do. And I was in university. And I was like, why am I taking advice from these teachers that I do not want to trade places with? And I was sitting there for 3-4 years, this university, that I went to 2 different universities, one college. And I realized this was not for me. I was sitting in accounting and I'm like, I'm out of here. So I left. I started doing social media marketing at the time. It was trending. It was nice. 2016. And I needed to make some money. So I did everything I could. I used to be a hockey player because I'm from Canada. We're born with a hockey.
You have all your teeth.
No, I know. They're all real too.
Holy shit.
Yeah. No, I got a couple concussions though. So I had to stop because of that. But to make this short, what I did is I saved up enough cash to buy a condo when I was 21 years old, almost 22. And in 2017, I heard of this thing called Airbnb, but I didn't know how to make money like completely online without physically being in my home city. I'm from Calgary. It's a city in Canada. Canada, as some people would call it.
Yeah.
It is warm up there sometimes, by the way. So people think we live in igloos. So I ended up buying this place, and there was this event called Calgary Stampede. So it was only a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. If I rented that place out, it would have only been $1,500 a month at the time. Mm-hmm. So $18,000 a year. But in that first year, I made over $50,000 on Airbnb with it. So way more money. Fuck and if you think about that, like, if I wanted to and I could consistently do that, obviously you get some sort of market saturation as more people join in on this. But if I could consistently pull 40 to 50 grand a year, you could pay down that condo in, let's say, 5 to 10 years, or even 5 to 8 versus 25 years. So I'm like, this is an amazing opportunity, but I don't have enough money to keep buying, condos. So what I did is I went on a website like Zillow. It's called Rent Faster. And I started calling homeowners. And I said, hey, I got a condo across the street from you. You're probably not going to say yes to this, but I would love to meet for coffee. I've made this amount of money, so over $50,000. And it's a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, just like yours. I know you want $1,650 a month. I remember that at the time. But I'd like to see if you're open to the idea of me coming in. I'll be your best tenant. I'll keep the place clean, because if I don't, I'm not going to make money.
True.
And as you know, I'm running a business out of this. So if you're worried about late payments, I'm more than likely going to be able to pay that rent because we have it on Airbnb, or I do. So it convinced her, and I think she really just trusted me because I could show her that I had proof that I did this with on my own. But we're gonna get into bootstrapping. So if you don't have resources to buy and save up, I literally started this whole thing with like $80, literally.
This is genius. So you rented out the apartment. You were transparent.
I was.
And you said, I'm gonna be using this as an Airbnb, and they're cool with it.
They were cool with it, and a lot of people will get no's.
Yeah, you get a lot.
This is genius.
You're gonna get a lot of
I
no's.
haven't thought of this.
Way more no's than yes.
Yeah, now it's become a little bit like buildings are being strict about it and whatnot. And I guess
especially here.
that.
Especially here.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Did you see Sedona?
No.
Sedona, Arizona is paying Airbnb landlords to stop Airbnb.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I don't
Dead
know.
serious.
Well, it's a housing thing too, right? Like these cities are like, oh, there's too many Airbnbs, but landlords are struggling right now because of inflation. Like you look at the average person and they don't really have too much money saved. So they're looking for ways. Yeah, exactly. So they're like, it's causing an issue with housing, and then neighbors get pissed off. And this is just how new things get created. We have to pave the way. And, you know, a lot of these condo buildings are saying, no, you can't do Airbnb. But there's a lot of, and I've heard this, there's a lot of lawsuits that are happening around the fact that landlords are saying, I own this property. I should be able to dictate whether or not I have a guest in here. Short-term rentals being under 28 or 30 days versus a midterm stay. Like you can do midterm leases, which is like, 3 months or even a month at a time. Mm-hmm. So you could deal with expats, insurance companies, nurses. That's another way to do this. And it doesn't really break those rules. But short-term rental seems to be a big issue. But so is everything when you first started. It's not traditional. And we can get into it. We're going to get into an even cheaper way to do that, because you still need to front the cash. If you're going to rent the place, you got first month deposit, furnishing, right? So let's say you're 10 grand in, or 8 to 10 grand. A lot of people don't understand they also can use credit, right? You can use 0% credit. Yep. So if you don't have the resources, but you have a good credit score and you have okay income and you get a 10K credit card, go apply for a 0% credit card, liquidate that. There's sites like Plastic. You can literally liquidate that credit card through Plastic to pay the homeowner. And that will allow you to go and rent this place for, let's say, 10 months, 0% interest, make your minimum payment.
Hell yeah.
And you're using none of your own cash. Now you got a business.
That's beautiful leverage.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
tomorrow.
Bootstrapping. And that's
I'm doing this tomorrow.
That's the art of bootstrapping right there.
I gotta go, actually. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But so you got started. You had the personal touch.
Yeah.
You sat down for coffee. You let her know what's what, and she says, "You know what? Let's give this a try."
100%. And I was actually shocked myself. But the funny thing is, I completely screwed up.
Really?
Like, are you sure?
I was like, are you sure? She's like, I think I trust you. I'm like, thank you so much. And so I was ready to pay right then and there, right? Mm-hmm. Money speaks. So I at the time, I'd made money from Airbnb. I didn't have enough to keep buying properties, obviously. The stress test with mortgages wouldn't allow me to qualify. I'm 22 years old at the time. It wouldn't work. Mm-hmm. But what I didn't understand is that there was restrictions. I did not know what this was called. So I was like, oh, this is called a sublease, right? Mm-hmm. But I realized these are not tenants. So I had to talk to lawyers. I have friends that are lawyers in this space, and they're real estate lawyers. Like, what is this? And they're like, well, Airbnb, it's their guests. It's going through their platform. It's not a direct booking. And yes, you can do that. But Airbnb makes it so simple. And I'm not trying to advocate just for Airbnb, but they are an incredible platform, and it's how I make a living. They not only insure you up to $1 million USD through AirCover, but they also facilitate your payments. They make sure they find the customers, and they have a seamless platform that showcases your property. And it seems like there's so much demand that you don't really have an issue getting booked. When you first list on Airbnb, they'll push your listing as well. Mm-hmm. So it's going to make the host want to stay and keep going.
True.
Now, with that being said, I made a mistake. Like I said, I did not read the building bylaws, so HOA rules. It's not called HOA in Canada. And I got a call from the landlord a couple months later saying, hey, we're getting fined several $1,000s. I said, what?
Oh, God.
So it was $200 per offense every time they caught somebody coming in, because it was against the building bylaws.
Which is what? What was the law?
So the rules say no short-term rentals.
Okay.
Nothing under 30 days. So I was like, oh my God. So all my profit that I made, I lost it.
Shit.
I had to get rid of that. It's actually called master leasing. That's the technical term. I had to get rid of the master lease. So a lot of people refer to this as arbitrage, using other people's properties. And I was like, okay, that was a learning lesson. So this prompted me into a world of going, okay, I've now had to pay for my mistakes. I did not have a mentor because this was so new, and it still is new. Mm-hmm. Nobody was really teaching this online at the time. A friend of mine who actually is one of the big teachers in the space too, his name is Brian Page. He was also running a he was running a program at the time. But I thought, okay, I've had to make these mistakes. I think that other people might want to know how to do this, because this is a fantastic way. And what if I could do this with no money? So even cheaper, not even a credit card.
Did you get evicted, by the way?
No, the landlord was super nice. Okay. We just ended the lease.
So Canadian.
It's so, we're like, okay,
Canadian.
But it is. It really is. It's like, it's funny. Whenever you're in Canada, like, you go. No, you go. You go. Literally at the grocery stores, you go. And I always say, this is so Canadian. I swear to you. Everybody's
shout out to Canada, man. I have so many good friends in Canada.
Do you really?
I do. I have a good size of friends in Toronto.
Yeah.
And 2 of them have relatives over in Vancouver. They were inviting me over to Vancouver Island, I believe. So,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. You guys need to go. But anyways, this prompted me into a third way. So you have owning, you've got master leasing, and then I was like, oh, what if I could do this without the risk of having to rent? Then everybody could get in this. As long as you have a little bit of hustle, like anything. This is not easy, by the way, but it is worth it.
You make it sound really easy. I'm just saying.
Well, it's easier.
I think I can go right now and be like, "Hey, I really like your house."
I bet you if you did, I bet you if you hustled today, you could land a deal. Yeah, I'm not lying.
We should film that actually.
I'm not lying. We could film the process.
You know, we still have to film your day in the life.
Do we?
Yeah.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, now you do.
Well, let's go hustle a deal today. Let's get it done.
Yeah. Well, how long
a lot
are
of
you
pretty
here
houses
for?
here.
There is what?
How long are you here for?
I'm here for like 10, 11 days.
Shit, we're gonna have to schedule that then. The
that
whole
would be
idea,
fun.
Chris Cinematic, he just walked in here. He'd follow you around for the day, and just document a day in the life.
I would love to take somebody who has no experience or results in this space.
Take me.
No, exactly.
One deal.
And close a deal in a day.
Fuck
Shut
it,
up.
dude.
And I'm putting myself on the spot here.
Let's go.
We're doing it.
I'm a little nervous. Just kidding. I'm not.
Mr.
but
Airbnb.
that would be really fun. I think people would love to see that.
That's amazing. I'm excited.
Start a business from zero. We'll start at 7:30.
Boom.
And we'll see how we do by 7:30 at night.
Oh my God.
12
Okay.
hours later. That's awesome. All right, cool. We're locking it in.
Bet.
You're on camera, dude, saying
Bet.
it, so we got you.
That is. Yeah. Well, this isn't live, but can we cut that out?
Stuart, don't cut the footage. Don't cut the footage.
I think that would be amazing because I was wanting to do a day in the life thing. I never have. And I think obviously you guys, you're doing a great job here. So I think people would love to see this because everyone can relate that they need to make, everybody wants to make more money. They want to be more free. And that's the byproduct of having more money.
In this economy?
Oh, of course, man. So co-hosting is the third way. Co-hosting is where you do not, and people get this mixed up with management. Again, I had to go to lawyers to figure out what's the difference here. So we're not going over any rules. And again, check with your local laws, the whole spiel. True. This is not financial advice, etc. But co-hosting is when you're helping the homeowner market the property, communicate with guests, delegate cleaners, deal with any disputes, or anything essentially that can help you virtually run that property. Management is when you actually control and receive funds. A lot of co-hosting companies, I shouldn't say that because I don't know the actual numbers, but they'll receive the funds, they'll pay the homeowners at the end of the month. They're doing it wrong. You need to actually have the homeowners paid first. So on the back of the Airbnb account, you put their banking information. At the end of the month, they pay the cleaners and you invoice them. So usually what you'll take is 20 to 30%. So what I charge is 30% on a 6-month agreement. I'll charge 25% on a 1 year and then 20% on a 24-month agreement. Homeowners love that 24 because it shows I'm committed long-term and I'm willing to make this work for them. I'm not going to just go and set up and help them do all this stuff. By the way, there's tons of Airbnbs that I have never been to that I've ran. And it's crazy because you don't physically have to be there. I do recommend you start where you live.
So you sign up to be their co-host for 24 months, something like that, right?
Yeah.
And then you deal with all the people that come in and out. Okay.
Almost everything.
Okay.
Which is amazing because guess what? You don't need any money to do that. The homeowner is the
Not
one.
tomorrow, I'm telling you.
Yeah, tomorrow it's going to happen. It's going down. But this is amazing. So anybody watching, you can leverage your network. It's like, where do I find these leads? There's tons of places. You can use realtors that can actually give you a warm introduction, give them a percentage or a finder's fee. Again, that will cost money. But if you, let's say you charge a homeowner 25%, but you're like, to the realtor, I'll give you 5% for the first or for the 12-month agreement.
Yeah.
So it's like now they're making 5% residually. If they bring you 10 deals, now they got 10 deals making 5% a month doing nothing. So it's amazing. And typically you don't have to make a certain amount of rent. When you master lease, you got to come up with the rent. So if you don't actually make enough to cover the rent, well, now you're on the hook, right? So there is risk. The most rewarding is owning, obviously, but it's the most expensive. Okay. So your risk to reward in any business scenario is always correlated. The more money you have to put in, the more reward you're typically going to get.
ROI, absolutely.
But now we're talking about bootstrapping. So anybody who's watching this, how do I start this tomorrow? Well, you could literally go out, start networking, having coffee with realtors. Zillow has tons of properties. There's a website called HotPads that also HotPads. You can filter for rent by owner specifically, so you don't have to go through the gatekeeper. They are the person listing it, so get in contact. And then Facebook Marketplace is simple too. There is tons and tons of, it's just people are nervous, right? You're going to get no's, 100%. But if you have your pitch down, you got to learn how to sell, and you got to have them trust you. What I recommend, if you don't have experience, because they're going to doubt you, and you're trying to do this with $0, they're going to go, well, where's your previous results? And you're going to go, well, I haven't done this before. Be honest. You're my first client, but I'd like to show you that that's why I'm going to take better care of you, because I don't have 10,000 listings or 100 listings. I have to make this relationship work. And I would even like to do like a 30-day trial with you. We'll run it for 30 days. If it doesn't do the numbers I think it will, we'll walk away. But if it does, let's talk about doing a year agreement.
This is another important pillar, I think, in young entrepreneurs that we should take note on is transparency. It's so important to be transparent. It's so important to just be honest. And people respect you so much more for that. Wouldn't you say, Kat?
Integrity.
That's pretty much the only way you're going to build a portfolio or a resume or a track record, really.
Yeah.
You know, that candid transparency, I mean, I'm biased because it's served me every time. When I've been just that candid, people are like, oh, crap. I didn't expect that.
Well, then then that builds trust, because it's like, okay, this person, like, they could have bullshitted me, but they did it, you know, and then
100%.
And you get the deal.
You do. You know, it's crazy. So I've taught people all over the world, and if you go to my Instagram, check the reels. When COVID happened, people were exiting this business. I'm not going to name any companies, but there was a 9-figure company that went out of business because they were over leveraged with master leases. In their contract, they didn't have anything that stated that if the Dow Jones falls below a certain level, it means we've triggered in a recession, or something like a force majeure has happened, meaning like COVID, something you can't control. It's God's force. So they had too many master leases. Nobody could travel, and they went belly up.
They were on the hook.
9 figures. But there's other companies in this space that are crushing it. And again, I won't name drop anything. You can look up the biggest short-term rental companies. They're crushing it. Like there's billion-dollar companies in this industry. And what I love about this is you can build this as an asset too. So when you're building this business, let's say you go and get 50 properties that are co-hosting deals, and they're on 2-year agreements. Let's say you've ran it for 2 years. You know this is making $2 million a year. Let's say your net is 20% on that, so you're making $400,000.
Wow.
So let's say your multiplier is 3x. So your net annual return in your pocket is $400,000. So when you want to sell this company, I spoke with a lady. Her name is Julie George. You can look her up. She's very nice. She's from Australia. She had 135 properties. She sold her short-term rental business. I think she was doing $5 million a year. Don't quote me on that. And let's say her margins were 20%. So she made $1 million. So $80,000 a month. And let's say she's actually said that I sold this for a 3x. So that would be a $3 million payout. She had to sign a 2-year non-compete or something, and I think she's restarting right now. But where I'm going with this for everybody watching is I've taught people all over the world. I have testimonials from England, Puerto Rico, Canada, the United States, Australia. And there's one guy I just recently spoke to. His name is Alan. And it's crazy because they actually built their business through COVID. In the hardest times where people couldn't travel. Alan and his partner have 70 properties. We logged in. He went into his account in real time, so it's not bullshit. I don't know if I can swear on here or not.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Cat swears all the time. Potty mouth.
So anyways, they're doing they're at 2.3 million in bookings right now for the year, and they're thinking they'll end up at 3.5 to 4 million this year in bookings.
Nice.
And they're only 3 years in. Now let's say you wanted to sell this company. Well, you could literally exit at that pace for over 7 figures, starting with essentially no money because you just hustled your way up. So think about one developer who might be able to give you go to a networking event. You're in the hub for that here. You could even use LinkedIn. It's the underutilized little brother of social media. People don't use enough, my opinion. It's decision makers.
It's underrated as hell.
So you use that. And if you have a great personality, a lot of integrity, a lot of hustle, they'll see it. And they might be able to give you 20, 30 units. I'm working with a developer. He actually just texted me this morning, and he's been following me for 4 years, sorry. And I met with him in my home city, Calgary. He's building a 70-unit building. A lot of developers are going into mixed purpose rentals, so long-term and short-term, because I realized if you can make 2-3x on an Airbnb, and this is also my next play too, homeowners are not realizing that if they convert their property into an Airbnb, they not only are making, well, they should make more money. If they don't, it's not in every scenario you do, but if you do it right and you do your market research, you should make more money. That they're turning this into a business. And if you sell a turnkey Airbnb, you're not going by the valuations of every residential home. You're selling for more because you have a higher cap rate on that property now. You're a real estate guy.
Yeah, that's why I'm excited.
Yeah, I know. I was like, you get it.
Yeah,
you're going.
We're in the middle of one
My
right now in
brain's like,
Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that.
Right now, there's a deal that we're doing in Fort Lauderdale like that. The 2 houses, 2 doors down.
Yeah.
The place sold for $465, and then this one is being sold for $685.
That's crazy.
Just because of
the
fact
really?
that it's Airbnb.
That's amazing.
So what about Airbnb?
$200,000 equity just.
So you have proof, right? You have proof that it's happening.
Exactly.
So what is it about Airbnb in your place that makes it more profitable?
If you make more money on the property. So like, let's take my first condo.
Okay.
If I could only rent it for 18 grand a year, let's say it's worth 300 grand, then it's worth 300 grand because that's what all the other homes are going for. But I've made almost 3x whatever the properties are renting for. And I've proven that. Now go a step further. What if you actually start collecting customer data? And you build a customer data list. Data is worth money today.
Oh, it's
so
gold.
So Airbnb makes this super easy. You don't even have to be great at marketing. It's not like e-commerce where you have to figure out what's the buy box, source this product, figure out what's trending, create ads. No, you just take a home, you put it on Airbnb, and they'll find the bookings. It's simple. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing I think with this industry right now is people are realizing, in this area especially, and that's why so many rules are coming out. So if you're wanting to start this, make sure that you check your local laws because it can screw you just like it screwed me in the beginning. And I had to learn the hard way.
But you learn through failure. That's a big thing on this
podcast.
podcast.
That's tuition, all right.
Hug your failures, learn from them. Yeah.
But I think it's important that people understand that if you're whether you're a university student, whether you're 60 years old, I've taught it all. People have success stories, but also people have listened to me and done nothing, right?
Yep.
And that's just the law of averages.
Womp, womp.
Yeah. Womp, womp, womp. I think it's important that you see the opportunity. You can buy most profit. You can do arbitrage. People like that because you don't have to deal with the homeowner micromanaging. You just pay them the rent. Mm-hmm. They don't care. Just pay me my rent every month. And then you have co-hosting, which is your cheapest way in. But let's say you have a property making $50,000 a year, you take 25%. That's $12,500 in your pocket. You didn't even have to come up with rent for. You have to come up with down payment. So imagine you had 100 of those. That'd be 1.25 million, right? Mm-hmm. You're making real good money now.
Okay.
And you can do it quickly.
Guys, I gotta go.
So as you're listening to this, in terms of what bootstrapping will look like if we were to dissect it in a different way. So something he immediately goes into is your network.
Yes.
And you probably heard this a million times on the show already, right? Look at your network, look at who's around you, and usually this can also be broad. I'm going to just start printing out SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis basically start to look at your network, who's around you. Yeah. Basically, here's a quick exercise you can do. I grew up always being the guy that knew a guy. So who's someone that you know that knows everybody? Start there. Hey, I need cars. I need blank. Just and start building a little bit of a web. Then he goes into the incentive. So the incentive would be, so you have your network. Now start to see where you can start to create value adds. Another way of calling value add is, what's the incentive that I'm walking in? The ask. So I'm walking in. So he's walking in, in this example, and he's talking to a neighbor. And he's saying, hey, I have this cool thing that I'm doing. Would you like some too? There's the incentive. Then he goes into social proof plus social leverage, which is, hey, look, here are my results on what I've been doing. And here is, a way to apply where it benefits you. Now, if you do not have social proof and social leverage yet, your transparency is your social leverage. In many scenarios, I'm going to use myself anecdotally here. What I've done is I said, I'll do it for free or I'll do it for this cut rate. And then every third customer, I increase my price. So in your scenario, if you're looking to bootstrap, you're basically going to take those 2 or 3 testimonials. Then the third one is just the icing on the cake. And then you level up and you increase the price. And when you keep doing that, that also creates a little bit of scarcity. Because now it's like, wait, if I'm not getting it now, by the time I circle back, the price has gone up. And And then something he brings up is once you're doing that is you're going to target underutilized ecosystems. In this scenario, it's LinkedIn. Everyone in their mother's on TikTok. Everyone in their mother's on Instagram. Yada, yada, yada.
Big fish, small pond.
Exactly.
Yes.
So LinkedIn is an underutilized ecosystem. When I first got to Miami, my underutilized ecosystem, ironically enough, was the local business / government space. They were only used to talking to each other. So when I walked in and came with this plethora of information, I said, oh my God, give this guy everything he wants. So in his scenario, he was using his local networks. He was using LinkedIn. And from there, he also leveraged his friends. And you can kind of start to see where this is going. We're following along so far?
Yeah. So if you guys are following that, he literally broke it down. Super easy.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have a problem making something complex easy. And I think Steve Jobs actually said that. It's like, why is Apple so great? Because it's simple. Like,
So simple.
make it easy. People are lazier. We're lazier, but also becoming, in my opinion, smarter. And some people might say, no, our phones are smarter. But we have access to information.
I think it has something to do with attention span also.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like the attention span is becoming less and less nowadays. So the more you simplify things when you're explaining actually why you would be an asset to Airbnb, try to simplify it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Don't over-explain yourself.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
I like that because I mean, you've probably seen this before. Like when you're talking to somebody, they give you like this ask or this offer.
Of course.
And they don't shut up.
I know.
They keep trying to sell.
Just stop. If you have the sale, be quiet.
Yeah.
That's what I've always learned because I'm like, blah, 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 blah. Oh, and then you keep talking. They're like, you know what? You actually talked me out of the sale. And I do that. And I do
was
that.
in.
And I'm like, I have to shut up here because like, you just learn that over time. With sales, it's about reading people and understanding where they're at.
It's like a nervous thing.
Yeah.
Ever been on a
Well, on
date,
that
can't stop
subject,
talking?
you are in the people business.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you're bootstrapping. Obviously, you're doing well, but specifically, you haven't lost that love for bootstrapping. Why?
No. Because I think like, and you asked me this actually before we started recording, is like, what other industries are you in? And anything else I've ever done is like, I had to start like, you know, with less than $100, like literally. So I did like the social media marketing. I got into crypto and Bitcoin, like I told you early, got ripped off and scammed out of that. My initial Bitcoin, that's just part of the game.
It is, yeah.
And honestly, I really don't care because it's like I had to learn and I won't repeat those actions. But in life's tough, right? So you have to do that. And I love bootstrapping because it's like if the product or service is good enough, the demand will already be there as long as you present it in a way that people understand. What's your 10-second, as you said, we have no attention span. What's your 10-second elevator pitch? Because people are going, I have no idea what you're talking about. It's true because just like tell me what it is in under 10 seconds. And so bootstrapping is important in just because you have enough resources. Right now, you have enough people in your circle to go out and get it. If you don't have the funds, friends have the funds. Go
and
find
we have
it.
so much access now with social media.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
That's true, and everybody and their mother pretends to know somebody that knows somebody.
It is, yeah.
So this is a good way to
Call
tell the
people out on their-
bullshitters. Absolutely, and something that's really important. I mean, I love bootstrapping. I can talk all day about it.
Oh, yeah.
I
the
love
speed.
bootstrapping too now.
Yeah, now you're part of the team. It's the speed.
Yeah.
It's the fucking speed. Like it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you look at like I've been a growth hacker now for about a decade.
Yeah.
And when it comes to growth hacking, the whole premise is how fast can we make this go?
Yeah.
You know, and to not overlook a point you just brought up is that, and we've said it here before, the whole relationship we have with failure. Failure is tuition.
Mm-hmm.
It's tuition. It's okay. You see, he got
Yeah.
a rug pull. He can sit here and cry about it all
A
day.
couple
but
of them actually.
It's the school of life.
Ouch.
Yeah.
But it's tuition at the end of the day.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I did the university thing, and I was like I said, I was like, what am I doing here? Like, and I'm not saying university is bad. I actually enjoyed the network and the experience, but I ended up just starting to really shift myself online because I had friends that are like, oh, I'm going to get an MBA or I'm going to go get my PhD. If you're becoming a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, an accountant, sure. I don't want a doctor that learned off Google working
No,
on
please,
me.
no.
You know what I mean?
There's something for everybody.
But if you're trying to go in business, just go in business. Find somebody if you want to learn real estate, you've been in real estate for how long?
I'm showing my age now. 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
But like somebody who's willing to offer value and help you out could actually learn more than going to learn like in school how to do this.
No, I mean, as a stylist, when I've had interns, from not to say anything about any colleges here, but there's an institute here for fashion, and I had them come, and I'm like, can you email this designer and let them know that we're going to be picking this up at what time? Okay, sure. What do I write? What do you mean? What do you write? Let them know that we're going to be picking it up at this time.
Yeah.
I don't know how to write. Like, You don't know how to address an email. You don't know how to make a signature. Like, you know, all these things that, you know, you have to learn through life.
It's
interning, I think the best way to get your foot in the door is either through interning, you know, learning from, like you said, learning mentors. From interning, you get mentors.
Yeah.
Not being as scared to be transparent. Say, I actually know nothing, but I have a will to learn.
Yeah.
That's true.
And through that, you learn so much, and people respect you, and they see the drive that you have, and
100%.
that builds morale, self-love, and confidence, which will give you the tools that you need to succeed in life.
Whoa. Wait. If you're watching this and enjoying it, press pause for a second. Go to activemindsclub.com. Again, activemindsclub.com.
Here you will have membership access to our exclusive networking events, as well as behind-the-scene access to our guests, where you yourself can ask them questions.
Not to mention, at these events and in the community, you're going to have access to the very mentors that are here sitting with us, as well as many, many more that are doing cool things in stocks, marketing, cars, real estate, where we're going to have you have access to education, insights, how-tos, all things that you can apply to your life and business. To give you some context, I'm going to echo your sentiments and definitely your sentiments. I got started with real estate through sandwich leasing when it was still called sandwich leasing.
Oh,
and now
Jesus.
it's called subleasing.
Yeah.
My mother, what she would do is she would rent a place, and then I would manage it, mop it, clean it, etc. when I was still a kid.
Yeah.
And I would be her translator. And her whole thing was, well, this worked in my country, and it could work here too, no different. And she was very transparent with them. She's like, it's my kid doing the translating. I don't know what the hell you're saying, but I'm supposed to sign here. And she was very open about it. And we ended up making not just having great tenants, but making lifelong friends from this situation.
100%.
So when you talked about the transparency, I thought about my mother in that situation, because it was hilarious. Like we had one tenant who was like, why don't you bother learning English? She was like, this is what everybody speaks.
Of course.
Nice.
And
It's universal.
that's all that matters.
Yeah. You know, it is what it is. At the end of the day, you just got to play by the rules. But also, you think about it, like, it's never been easier to scale a business virtually. But also, the globalization of the competitiveness of everybody wanting to be in that space is also causing a larger barrier to entry. People are like, it's so easy to make money online, right? I think what the problem is people overcomplicate it, and they're trying to set up the perfect scenario. It's like when I used to play hockey. We'd call it garbage goals. Like, we would just have to shoot the puck, and it didn't have to be a fancy goal, through the legs, whatever, right? It's about just getting started. Can I start this business? If we do the whole thing where let's start an Airbnb business in 24 hours, not even 12 hours, right? No, seriously. It's like all you need to do is bring the idea to somebody and then start building from there. Because if we go and let's say we reach 100 people on that one day, we don't have the website done, none of that stuff, but we have the idea. And if we can yield the results we're saying, and they have no risk involved, meaning they don't have to pay, like, why would they say no? You know what I mean? Like, it's about taking somebody from zero, not saying, hey, I've been doing this for five years or whatever, but zero, and going out and showing what networking is. And if you don't have those skills and knowing how to talk to people yet, that's also something you should work on. But you'll learn that through doing it.
How do you think people can work on that? What are some tools or
doing it?
No,
I'm serious. Like, literally, because it's like you have to get enough. No, yeah, it's like people are scared. It's like when you go to ask a girl, like, yeah, she's so good looking, and you're nervous, but you don't do it, right?
Yeah.
You think about it too long. You start this business and you think about it too long that it never actually comes to fruition.
It's the wrong fucking answer.
I know. It does take a lot of courage to go up to somebody and say something.
What's the worst that happens? They say no.
We're nervous, right? Because people are they fear rejection, right? We all want to fit in. And one of the biggest things, my friend's a doctor, he said one of the biggest, he loves psychology. He's like, we all want to feel like we belong somewhere. And feeling abandoned or we don't belong is lonely. And humans, you could see it through COVID, we still want to be around. You could see how much people are partying these days. They're going on vacation because we were locked up for 2 years. Little different here, but in Canada, it's still going on.
Miami never closed.
In a way. No, it's like
never closed. We really love
open
people.
for business.
We really love people. We never closed.
COVID never happened here. What are you talking about?
What is that? ¿Qué es eso? ¿Qué es eso?
No.
So I think, just not trying to ramble too much. If whoever's watching this, like co-hosting, master leasing, owning, and there's even seller financing too. So like, I can't afford this. Well, if you're on a seller finance, instead of having to qualify for a mortgage, you could find homeowners that are looking to rent their property. Hey, I'll come master lease your property, test it for like 6 months to a year. If this goes well, I'm potentially wanting to buy this. I'll pay you, a higher interest rate. You know how this works. Higher interest rate.
I like how your brain works.
Yeah.
Dude.
But what this allows you to do is test the property, come in and rent it without committing to a mortgage and hoping that this is going to make enough money to cover your mortgage payments.
So how has the new laws and everything that's been going on with buildings not wanting Airbnb affected you?
Well, that's the thing is condos are, if you're going to get started, I think having a smaller unit is better in my opinion, because it resembles a hotel with higher turnover rates and people book it easier, less decision makers. The bigger the house, more parties usually.
More cleanup.
More cleanup. Yeah. There's different things like noise aware plugs into the wall. It tracks the decibel system. Minute is another one too. So you want to have controls and systems, but how has this affected me is we actually transitioned into hotels and resorts. So why work and play by, well, I guess we have to play by the rules of the condominium or wherever we're working, but with hotels already zoned. We don't have to deal with the guests. The hotel does that. We don't have to find the customer because Airbnb does that. And we're just connecting the two. So it's as lean as it gets.
Hotels already have their own
Of course. But we market the days they're not booked. And we integrate the Airbnb system, which people aren't really doing yet. Yeah. We're like, what if we could do this at resorts with all inclusives? Now one owner becomes 1,000 units. Right? You land a couple resorts. Well, now you got 1,000 units with one deal. So imagine making even 10% on 100 rooms that are booked for a week, right? So that's 700 nights. Let's say it's $100 each. That's 70 grand, I think.
Brilliant.
And you, let's say you take 10% on that. You made $7,000 overnight with 100 new reservations for a week at
using this.
Right? Leveraging. Guess how much that costs to start? Nothing.
Yep.
Because you use LinkedIn to connect with these owners and you're working with the development teams on connecting in and integrating with their systems because they have them.
How do you find your customers?
Go ahead, sorry.
Now I'm going to give away the gold.
Yeah.
This is this is not taught, by the way. You won't be able to Google this one. No, not this portion. yeah. It's not this portion. Like obviously it's pretty easy to figure out like how do I connect with well, I guess not easy with hotel owners, but again, LinkedIn is one way. Google. We actually ended up having a guy who could speak Spanish, where we landed. It's a client who own the resorts. They're 5-star resorts down in Mexico, Cabo, Puerto Vallarta, Cancun.
Brilliant.
And these go for three, 4, 500, even up to 900 a night. One of them is only like 150 to 200 a night, but we needed somebody who could connect with those decision makers speaking the same language and be quick and efficient. So we had to train him. And he's actually over in Spain. And so it took us almost a year to land that deal.
Totally worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we're actually still working on the integrations, the setups, all that stuff, because it's actually more complex when you're dealing with 1,000+ rooms. But at the same time, there's a massive industry. I didn't even know I was going to talk about this, but with hotels, I don't recommend you start there because you haven't proven yourself yet. You're not going to understand how this works. But how do you find them? There's tons of like trade shows that deal with suppliers that also, like in Vegas.
But for this, interesting.
For suppliers, right? Like what do hotels need the most? They need supplies, they need bedding, etc. So you could go to these. Yeah.
Have you been to the NACE events?
I have not.
Oh. Check them out.
Really?
There's one coming up September 21st, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, if you think on a bigger level like that, we've discussed 4 different ways now. Seller financing, which is technically owning, and then mortgage, traditional mortgage, master lease, co-hosting. Now we're talking about marketing. So if you go try to Google this on YouTube, you're probably not going to find it because
find a course.
You can only find it here.
No, I don't even think you'll find a course. Yeah, and I think that people are like, oh my God, that hotel idea is amazing. You don't start there. You start with working with one homeowner at a time. And that is very, very profitable as well. Because with a hotel, you got to remember, you're sharing the calendar. When you're doing co-hosting, you have the calendar to yourself.
You probably need a team to do that.
What? No, not that much, actually. You could use virtual assistants, right?
Yeah.
So virtual assistants will deal with the communication on the Airbnb platform.
Yes.
And those you can find some that are super cheap.
Absolutely.
Anyways, so at scale, you can imagine how big that could be. Yeah.
And I mean, I know that you're focusing on Airbnb,
Mm-hmm.
but just for shits and giggles,
Yeah.
what is another sector or space that you've maybe in the peripheral vision noticed I could probably apply that over there too?
And we talked about this slightly. I think focusing in on an industry to become great at it is super key. What did Mark Zuckerberg work on? Right, it's Facebook. He wasn't doing 10 other things. So it's like, yeah, the average millionaire has 6 or 7 streams of income. That's fine. Invest there, but have it work for you.
Yeah.
That's not where my attention is. So my attention is dialed into this industry, but also with real estate as a whole. So working with developers, the mixed purpose rentals, owning entire buildings, and actually increasing the value on those, and then obviously selling them for an increased price. So if we could do like a $40 million build and then sell that same building for $70 million, $80 million, now we're talking bigger numbers. That's how you get to those 9-figure, 10-figure mark, right? And I think that the way I'm learning how to get into this is by friends that have already done it. And, you know, I'm not in commercial. I have friends that are in commercial. But I think that the real estate industry, I'm fascinated with crypto. I have been since 2017. You know, I dabbled in NFTs. I currently am dabbled in NFTs. I'm not creating an NFT, but I'm interested in the idea of the utility behind it, not for a 1-year, play, but a 10-year play. What does that look like? Because when I bought Bitcoin, I remember I was sitting in a coffee shop in Calgary, Waves Coffee, and there was like a little ATM. And I was like, I had cash in my pocket at the time because I was working and some people would pay me cash. So I was like, I'm going to go to this ATM. I'm going to buy Bitcoin because I think I've heard of it. It's like, download this Coinbase app. Obviously, everybody knows what Coinbase is now.
Yeah.
So it was like $3,000. I still have the transactions on my phone. It was like $3,000 a coin roughly. And I put in, it was 3,000 max per transaction. I went back, I put in more. Then I went back the next day, I bought more. I actually forgot I even had it because it wasn't trending. And then 2017 happened. It popped off in December. It went to 20,000, 25,000. And I checked. I'm like, oh my God, I have all this money now that I didn't expect I had. And I was like, I heard of this Bitcoin mining. So I put it off into this mining operation, but you buy in with Bitcoin. You've heard how many, rug pulls there's been with that. And that's what that ended up being. So I go to check last year or 2 years ago, and it's like it was completely shut down. And wow. it was completely a fraudulent scheme, unfortunately. But
this is the problem.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
It is a problem. But also that's just, people see money changes some people, but it also causes a lot of issues with society, right? We're chasing freedom. Yeah. By definition, humans are typically selfish because we want to survive, right? So to become selfless, that's not natural. We have to teach ourselves that to be that way, because we all want to have the Lamborghinis and the vacations and pay off our parents' mortgages and take care of our friends, but you do that by solving a bigger problem. You look at the richest people in the world, and they're not out there typically flaunting, even though they're super wealthy. We're talking billionaires, but they constantly are involved in just making their business excellent. Where a lot of people that are just trying to make $1 million or just trying to make 5 or 10 million, which is fine, are hyper focused on stacking cash. I'm going to make this amount by this year, and I have to be a millionaire by 30. Or 40 or 50 or whatever it is. Over time, you've made $1 million. Most people have made $1 million. Not everybody.
But the idea is to have a well-running machine.
Well, like
keep generating that money.
people love to make the first sale, but it's not there. It's like, how do you make the continued sales with the customers that supported you from day one?
Yep.
Reinvest into that. And then obviously personal branding, it's huge right now. Social media, not everybody wants to be in the limelight. Nothing wrong with that. You can build a business and have somebody else there, and that's fine. I have friends uber successful that have done that, and they're not even really on social. But if you're wanting to connect and network and build a business, if somebody can search you up and see that you have, that's just the way humans are. Oh my God, you got this many followers. Oh my God, you're verified on Instagram. All these things. These are things that are important to a lot of society.
Social status, yeah.
Social status. But yeah, network with the right people. Because guess what? We may be so smart in this room, but it's really about people getting you into the right rooms, and that's
seat at the table. Yep.
Everything. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In your opinion, I know that you mentioned learning from friends that are doing it. Who is someone that you have learned something just, let's call it priceless, that maybe we don't all know about?
What do you mean, like a person or a thing? Like
A
what
person,
is it?
yeah. Like, is there someone that you've learned an immense amount of
You
just
mentioned
wisdom?
having mentors,
Yeah.
something like
Yeah,
that.
I think my family, like family, I had an amazing like upbringing. We weren't rich, but we weren't
Canadians.
poor. We were just we were Canadians. we were average. But they supported me in everything that I've done. Now the thing is that a lot of us go and listen to our parents. My dad's like, oh, you need to go to university. How many parents say you got to go to university? So I did the university thing, and I did it quickly, and I did something I didn't necessarily want to do. I did it because it made a good amount of money, so I thought at the time. And then I realized that he doesn't know everything that I need in terms of this space, because I'm tapping into the online space. So again, I have to take advice in certain situations from somebody who's already in the position I want to be. Not, if I was in university listening to somebody, why are you teaching me? You have to likely be here to make that money. Rather, you wouldn't want to be free on a beach. I'm listening to somebody who hasn't done what I need to do. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, I actually went off and started traveling. I love traveling. That's why I do Airbnb. I love just having a cell phone.
Yes,
I brought a backpack here and one little side pouch. That's all I got. And people are like, is that it? And I get asked all the time, but that's how I love to travel, because I almost like minimalism. I like to have assets that are paying for my life, but I don't like staying in one spot. We have to go get it and go find it. And that's why I'm here with you guys, because this doesn't exist always in your own backyard. And I say this to my friends, and honestly, most of my friends, I love them, but not all of them that I grew up with are doing what I needed in my life for them to do to help me envision where I needed to go. So what I'm trying to say is that, like, I found mentors by going to networking events. And I got into places where, and it's funny, like I said, a lot of these mentors, some of the mentors aren't even on really social media. A lot of the older guys that are crushing it, like, they don't even have social media. They've crushed it, but they're looking for young guys with hustle.
I can relate.
Yeah.
My mentor's always like, can you help me with that reel thing?
It is.
I'll pay you.
They know their craft well. So the doctor I was just talking about too, he ended up becoming a mentor of mine. And he would almost say that about me too. Because when I first met him, I was super young. I walked into his office and we ended up talking for like 2 hours. And it wasn't a traditional like meet up and whatnot. We're still friends. I texted him yesterday. I was supposed to see him, but I had to leave, came here. And unfortunately, I'm just kidding.
We're so grateful to have
So
you.
sorry, doctor.
I love it here. It's amazing. And I appreciate you guys having me on. No, but like, I have friends that are lawyers, accountants, doctors, entrepreneurs, and there wasn't one single person that changed it all for me. What it was, and I think I'm a little bit hard-headed when it comes to, at first being reluctant to finding people that I needed to be like. I thought I knew it all. When you're young, and that's where I'm going with this answer, is I made so many goddamn mistakes that it cost me a ton of money, a ton of time, that I thought I was going to be somewhere in 5 years. And it's like, okay, if you had just found a mentor, and I'm not saying go out and buy every online course and none of that, but if you're looking to learn from somebody that has proven and is doing exactly what you want to do, not somebody who's just in theory teaching that. Mm-hmm. And you see that online all over the place.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. Everybody has a course for something. How to tie your shoes. Courses. Yeah, a course how to make courses, how to tie your shoes. Nothing wrong with that. I know very successful people that have courses, but are they doing it today?
So
have they proven themselves?
Stay in your lane. We talk about this a lot.
Yeah.
People just need to stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Focus on what you need to do to get where you want to be. Mm-hmm. Get those tools, acquire those things, and become the best at it, right?
Exactly.
From top to bottom.
Exactly. And people are like, do you read? It's funny because I actually didn't read for so long. I started reading. I did the 75 hard. I ended up doing 90. If you guys know what that is?
No.
It's like a fitness challenge. Andy Frisella created it.
Okay.
You got to do 75 days, no drinking, 2 workouts a day, 45 minutes, one inside, outside. Then you got to read 10 pages of a book. Anyways, I basically didn't work for like 3 months. I did 93 days. I lost 30 pounds. I got shredded, whatever. But what I found was that it taught me discipline. It wasn't about the physical change, and that's the whole point of this.
The mental clarity you get from not consuming alcohol is crazy.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And as we have Casa Azul in the corner over there.
I have a high tolerance,
Not
so
mine.
that does not apply.
This is pure green juice. Is what's mine.
I'm the drinker.
It's and you know what? Ever to each their own. If you can handle it, I'm not saying
Exactly.
don't. And everyone's like, don't drink and stay focused and sleep 12 hours or 8 hours and time everything. I have an Oura ring. I track my sleep, whatever. It's not on right now actually, but I found that like if you can integrate alcohol and that's what you enjoy,
can, sure.
go
Yeah.
fucking drink some alcohol if you'd like, but just don't overdo it. But enjoy your life. Everyone's like, oh my god, could you imagine you gave up everything for 1 year and lived in a room with 4 white walls? It's like you would probably be depressed.
Everything in
It's
moderation.
okay. It's okay to let loose, but I think you have to choose time and place. Me personally, I get so foggy headed and I just can't do it. I mean, that's why they always make fun of me here. They're like, we have to take Danny out of the country for her to drink. That's the only way I really
Todo en
want.
moderación. Everything in moderation.
Yeah.
That's basically, and like you said, just finding what works for you.
Yeah.
It's a good balance.
In your personal and business life.
Yeah, and honestly, and we can all say in moderation. There's times where you've gotten a little drunk, more drunk than you thought you were gonna get. But I think with entrepreneurs is we're very extreme,
Yes.
and that's
It's so true.
It's you're all in or you're not doing nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like right now, like I went from complete fitness mode. Now I'm in full work mode. And it's like, holy, I got to get to the gym or something today, or even go for and I was doing that. And it's just like, it's like a flip and a flop. But Tony Robbins, I think, said this, there's no such thing as balance. It'll always be off. There's something that you're doing more than the other. It's about integrating that into your lifestyle and making, a daily ritual that is a non-negotiable, whether that's a 30-minute walk or whatever. For me, I love flexibility. I remember, I think it was my dad told me, I went to kindergarten. It was like day 2. And I come back in the car. I'm like, is this all there is to life? And I was just a little kid. And I knew right then and there, well, maybe I didn't, but this is who I was and this is who I'm meant to be is I love freedom. And I don't care if it costs me my last dollar. If I can go and travel and explore, I know that culture and network is going to elevate me. And I'm so rich in experiences, I don't need 10 Lamborghinis or 15 Ferraris. If that's what you like, go for it.
Yeah.
If that makes you happy, go for it. There's nothing wrong with that. But also learn how to enjoy yourself and live it, because you're going to die with nothing, right?
Yeah.
We came here with nothing. We're dying with nothing. It all doesn't matter. It's just filling this void and finding this temporary happiness. And I'm not perfect. I still go through times where I'm like down and up and down and up, and that happens to everybody. That's entrepreneurship.
I think the most important thing to highlight here is accepting your shadows. We all have them.
True.
Yeah.
So sometimes you're going to dance with them, sometimes you're not. And it's accepting that we have a duality to us. There's dark and light, and we're always going to play in one and we're going to play in the other. And it's just like being gentle with yourself and accepting that it's going to happen, not getting into that mental torture, and then taking an action towards being better the next day.
100%. I know we went from bootstrapping to now we're doing like life lessons, but I think it's important.
That's the whole
No,
idea.
that's the
though.
whole idea of the podcast.
What's your thoughts on this? What's your thoughts on like just like maintaining, maintaining longevity in something? Most people just can't continue doing something over and over, and that's why they fail, I think, because if you just kept doing the same thing for over 5 years, you're going to get to a result, but people can't do it that long. So what's your thoughts? You've been in real estate for 20 years. Now I'm interviewing you.
I love the flip.
First thing that comes to mind is, and I'm sure you've met, like myself, just brilliant people.
Yeah.
And they're stuck, or brilliant people and they're failing over and over.
Yeah.
And it's a little. It's interesting to watch them suffer and struggle simply because once you kind of come out on the other side, you're like, well, stop it. And what I mean by that is that sometimes it's a curse to be talented and skilled or smart or creative or whatever you choose to label yourself, because certain things come easier to you than others.
Yeah.
So what I think about this is that, yes, it's easy to kind of motivate yourself, but that's perishable. And it comes down to discipline. I have ADHD, and my creativity fuels what I do, but where I learned discipline was in the Army. And they've basically focused on the whole motor memory. And I think about how that applies to other people that I know. Some people, I've tried it out where you said, embracing your shadows. I've tried it on a few friends where I'm like, hey, what are your shortcomings, for example? And then setting a cadence, like you said. So it's all about recipe building. Those are my thoughts. It's about what your recipe looks like for you. And when it comes down to that cadence, it can be a 15-minute increment or an hour increment.
Yeah.
And that's the way that it works. Like, even something that's worked for me has been, I was telling Stuart about this before, is my memory is weird because I'll remember things to the detail, to this color shirt you're wearing.
Yeah.
But then ask me what I had for dinner yesterday. I'm like, wait, what?
Sure.
So
Short-term memory loss.
I've learned that if you explore yourself and you're a lot more honest with yourself, it becomes easier. That's
No,
what
100%.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. So you're in the Army and you learned a lot of discipline, obviously, there.
Yeah, there was no choice.
Yeah,
There was no
that's what
choice.
I mean. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, discipline is a major thing.
Yeah.
But the discipline also I learned through them, which it's just you're making the same choice over and over.
Yeah. He obviously knew David Goggins then.
I have not read his stuff, but I've heard of a lot of his stuff.
Unbelievable, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll just leave it there, but you got to check out David Goggins.
I will. I definitely will.
He runs forever.
But making the same choice over and over, man. That's
Yeah.
what it comes down to.
I like that.
Routine.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. As we begin to wrap up, I wanted to go over some of the finer points that Mr. Airbnb, a cool moniker.
Bet you don't remember my name, but you remember
Braden.
You know Brendan.
Brandon. I'll never forget Brandon.
Brandon, aka Mr. Airbnb, started to bring up some finer points, which was, and here's where you can start to applying them: is number one, look at your network.
Yeah.
All right. I know that the catchphrase net worth is it's catchy, but it's true. Look at your network, even if you don't think you know somebody, or maybe just like kind of you're associated with them. A quick thing to apply, and it's something that he immediately went into, is sweeten the pot. What's your incentive? What's your ask? So even if you know somebody, you have access to somebody that you think might help you, immediately go into the mode of what can I bring to them? Yeah. And that also kind of brings up something that Danny brought up, which is embrace the shadows. And I say this because there was actually someone here not too long ago that is hella talented, and we were talking about his offer, and it was easy for us to extrapolate his offer, but it wasn't for him because he was so focused on, well, I'm not ready. I don't have this equipment. I don't have access to this.
Yeah.
Dude, none of that fucking actually matters. Then after you take a risk, you start to look at social proof and social leverage, and what that looks like is this. In his scenario, he gave, here's what I've done, here's what I haven't done, here's what I want to do. And then you're not going to get a lot of yeses. In fact, you're probably going to get 9 no's and 1 yes. But that's all you need is 1 yes. Then we get into going for underutilized ecosystems. Now, what does that look like for you? It could be a social media platform. It could be a forum. It could be Reddit. It could be LinkedIn. It could be your neighborhood business improvement district. You kind of get the point.
Coffee shop.
Or the coffee shop, yeah. And then as you're going through this process, he talks about failure being tuition. Failure is tuition. You know, he lost a few grand, unfortunately, on
More than that.
I'm trying
A
to be
lot
nice.
more. Yeah.
On Bitcoin, through a rug pull. We'll get into what that means later. But it's just tuition. He's now learned the lesson. Guess what? He's not going to do a third time.
Actually,
rug pull.
I did do it a third
God
time.
damn it.
There was another
Cut that
scenario,
part.
but
Man. And the whole art of bootstrapping is speed. So something that he immediately went into is using this, your noggin, right? Your brain, because that is actually your biggest value add. Your experiences, your perspectives, your skills, your talents, you package it all together, you have value. And that's where you start to apply speed, and that's where you get bootstrapping. And then something, just to wrap this all up, which is the idea of building in one area. There's something in real estate that I love, which is buy land, sell apartments. And his approach is pretty much the same. He's not looking at like 4 or 5 different industries. He's looking at one. But the key thing here is he has his proof of concept in one. Then he applies it again. Then he applies it again. And then he learns, oh, there's a way to improve my process. It requires now hotels or resorts.
Yeah.
And then he basically just keeps compounding and building on what he's built the first time. Yeah. Your first draft will probably look like shit, but the more you keep improving on it, things just get better and better and better and better. And that is the best way to create your luck, is to continue to compound on that. Did we absorb everything you were giving?
100%. And one thing I hate sometimes, and hate's a strong word, when you listen to a podcast, you go to these masterminds sometimes, people give you just a basic answer like, you know,
believe in yourself.
Like, believe in yourself. Don't quit, blah, blah. Like, we've said all those things and you've heard them a million times. People want an exact game plan. Yeah. In any business, there is no exact game plan. Nope. But there's a starting point, and it's like, and if we do this filming, you'll see. And I've never done that. So this is
doing it. I'm going to become Mrs. Airbnb. I mean, not that we have to get married. I didn't mean it like that.
one.
My girlfriend's gonna be.
I didn't mean it like that, Brandon.
Now you're Brandon. Now you're Brandon.
I did not mean it like that.
I've had a few people say
Miss Airbnb, Miss.
Yeah.
I'd love to have you as a brother-in-law. It'd be awesome.
Are you guys related?
No.
You might as well be.
She's a sister I never wanted.
No, but I love it. I think that just like the idea of having an exact strategy, it doesn't exist. There is no key.
Yeah.
There is no master key. But you labeled it all down. So if you guys have to go back, rewind, slow it down, whatever. But if you're starting today and you're like, I have nothing, Google, YouTube, like these are basic things. Yeah. Have so many videos. Spend an hour just watching some YouTube videos, how to do Airbnb, how to co-host. Research what other companies are doing. Like, what do they offer in their co-hosting? I don't know how to pitch a homeowner. Well, figure out how they're doing it, how to pitch a homeowner. It's very simple. People don't do those things,
Google is your friend.
Google University and YouTube University. So if you're starting from zero, your first step is to go and put yourself out there. Nobody will buy if they don't know you, right? So you need to go and network. And the warm introductions, because if you know a developer or a homeowner, he's going to trust you. I can cut you into the deal and I can give you a percentage if I have no money. I always say never partner with what you can hire, right? So if you're starting fresh and you got no money, you're probably going to have to give up a little piece of your pie. But if you've got money and just enough or making enough that you can cover it to pay somebody, don't give up something that you don't need to. If somebody, you're going to partner with somebody, they need to bring money to the table. They need to bring massive experience and network to the table, or an extreme amount of the opposite talent that you don't have and ambition. So you need to find somebody that has what you don't. Step one, day one, Google University, YouTube University, how to pitch a homeowner and what is co-hosting. Step two, go to Zillow, go on Facebook Marketplace, call realtors, have as many meetings as you can in day one. In that first week, you're building a network. By week two, there's no reason why you shouldn't have a deal if you do this enough times. We're going to try and do it in a day, though.
Fuck yeah. And if you don't want to get into this industry, please listen to it in a different way then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Look for the network. Look for the gatekeeper/access holders. Yeah. And then come up with a value add that you can bring to them. It applies to literally any industry. Yeah. I actually have a childhood buddy who started promoting parties. Fell in love with the car game, and used that exact method to now work at Lambo. He now heads up Lambo, for sales, and he did the exact same thing.
Just even doing the podcast for
that's cool.
Amount of time that I have been now, I'm already noticing common denominators and people that are successful. It's just like the same. It's the same recipe.
You see, it works.
It's just like what different ingredients you throw in there, but
it's always the same thing.
It's always the same structure.
So, dude, I want to give you the floor as we wrap up, man. What's something in the last 12 months that you're so fucking proud of you want to celebrate?
That I'm proud of?
Yeah.
See, it's like you should know right away. I would say that I'm turning 28. Mm-hmm. And at 21, my goal was to be, you hear this all the time, I want to be a millionaire by 25. Yeah. So, at 21, I wanted to, by 25, actually, I wanted to live downtown. I wanted to drive, the supercar, all these things. But what I'm proud of is hearing, and I've just started to document this because I started teaching this Airbnb thing 4 or 5 years ago now. Mm-hmm. I started at $50 an hour. I'd meet somebody in a coffee shop. Now, then it went to like teaching, 30 people at once, and it was like $1,000 a piece. And like, then I'm like, I want to build this business. I don't want to just teach. I want to be like the core guy. What I'm proud of is literally just hearing the results. I've done these interviews in the last actually month with people that I hadn't talked to in a long time. And they're either about to make $1 million a year, or they're at a couple $100,000 a year, which is incredible. Whether they have a partner or not, and have to split that after tax, whatever. But the idea is that this was an idea I had in the shower, and I executed on it because I didn't have enough cash, bootstrapping, and used the resources with velocity. And I went straight to it without a website, just results. And I realized that people like my friend Alan, who's a friend, used to be a student in Puerto Rico, said, I got 20 no's and on the 21st I got a yes. And it was a realtor, and that realtor was a warm introduction. That's what changed the game, right?
You heard that? 20. So do not give up when you don't get 3. 20.
And I hear this over and over.
A lot of no's.
I hear this over and over. It's like I got all these no's, but then I got my first deal and it just compounded.
Yeah.
Because
That's exactly how it works.
they'll just network and
And
give
you'll
you
just
more
be
deals.
that much more eager and ready
Yeah.
when you get that one. If you got 20 no's, you're gonna
Yeah.
come in with so much energy and drive.
Yeah,
and
after a while, it's just a numbers game.
yeah.
I got some things in the works right now that I didn't talk about on here. I actually haven't even marketed it yet, but it's going to help a lot of people do exactly what I was saying and teaching you guys today. And it's not a learning thing. It's not like here's my program. So I'm in the works of trying to build something that I don't think has been done in a certain way right now. So
Nice.
I'm proud of
Looking forward
people
to it.
is what I'm proud of. I'm
You're
proud of the people. And I'm proud that I was able to help do that. But I was just the stepping stone. I was just the base foundation. They built the tower. So that's
Well,
That's beautiful. So you're just trying to make
Yeah.
a better world.
Oh
for
yeah,
all
it's
of
so
us.
classic, but it's like
No,
it's
it really
actually
is, though.
really fucking cool to hear when somebody quit their job and they're doing this.
Yeah.
now.
That is true.
That's
It's like euphoric a little bit. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm not just being sentimental about it. It's actually
Oh,
sweet.
Aw.
Yeah. No, it's actually
It's
amazing.
got a
so
heart.
Canadian.
So I'm Canadian, eh?
Love it, Canadians.
Dude, thank you so much for stopping by. I obviously wish you much success.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to this day in the life because we're going to take you up on that.
I
I'm
literally
to challenge
didn't know this
Danny.
was happening.
I'm
gonna
like,
challenge
wait, now
Danny.
I'm questioning it.
No, jodas. You're going to do it. You're going to try it. Worst case
Pressure's
scenario, you
on.
fail.
Yeah.
Worst-
Worst case scenario, you fail.
You never make a plan B.
I won't.
Exactly.
away from
Worst
plan
case
A.
scenario, you just fail. You know?
No,
And
we're
you
gonna-
learn something new.
I don't think I don't have to think. We're not gonna fail.
We're not gonna fail. I don't know what.
There's just too many. Like when you do something enough times, you just know how to like do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. It becomes like muscle memory.
It's just it's so simple. Now we're in a different market with different rules. But if you go a little bit further down towards Hollywood and Fort Lauderdale, it's a lot more lenient.
Okay.
So, yeah,
True,
We'll
true,
figure
true.
it out.
it'll be fun. Just start a
So
fresh
as
business.
always, we're going to wish you well.
Thank you.
And 100% take what he put down and run with it.
Yeah.
Practice makes perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
Want to give a huge thank you to Hands Free Automation of Vegan Gummies
Yeah.
for their undying support and keeping this machine going and keeping us in front of people like Brandon.
Brandon. I learned that in Mexico. They call me
That's gonna
Brandon.
stick, dude. But yes, as we said before, the whole purpose of this conversation is to explore and
Yeah.
learn through the experience and perspectives of people that are paving their own lane.
Yeah.
And obviously, have a little fun with it. See how it applies to us, the lessons that we can derive from it, and the entire purpose of you watching this is to move smarter together. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Brandon. I've been Catchy LC Safradi. This has been Active Minds. Catch you next time.
So, guys, as we're wrapping up, we want to remind you that we have our membership program now available on ActiveMindsClub.com.
ActiveMindsClub.com. Grab yourself a seat. See you there.